The cheapest new car you can buy in America starts at $17,000. It's a Nissan. The most expensive car Nissan has ever built cost 1.1 million. Also a Nissan. 18 of them exist. So today I'm breaking down the 7 levels of Nissan, from the economy floor that pays the bills to a hand-built hypercar most people don't know exists. The bottom funds the top, and the top got built somewhere most people don't know to look. And yes, I already know the comment coming. Nissan isn't a luxury brand. You're wrong about why. By the end, you'll see what they actually built. And what they couldn't quite build alone. Level 1. The Versa. $17,000, and it is the single cheapest new car you can buy in this country. Almost every rival killed their economy car years ago. The sub-$20,000 new car is basically extinct. Nissan kept theirs, on purpose. And here's why that matters to you. The Versa isn't built to make money. There's almost nothing in it per car. It exists to do one job: get a human being into a Nissan for the first time. The rental counter at the airport, the first lease, the trade-in floor where a salesperson finally learns your name. Nobody's vision board has a Versa on it. But you're not the profit. You're the top of a funnel, and the funnel is the foundation everything above it stands on. Every pyramid needs a base wide enough to hold the weight. This is it, and the next 2 rungs are what makes the weight worth carrying. Level 2. The sedans. The Sentra in the low 20s, the Altima in the high 20s. This is the bread and butter, the rung that carried Nissan for 30 years. The Altima was, for a long stretch, one of the best-selling cars in America. Full stop. Top 5. Year after year. In more driveways than almost anything with a badge on it. The car nobody talks about in everybody's driveway. These are the cars that don't get posted. This is the volume that kept the lights on while the interesting cars got all the attention. Remember that because it's the whole game. The cars you'll actually want are paid for by the cars nobody photographs. Level 3. The Rogue. Just under $30,000, and this is the one that matters to the accountants. The Rogue is Nissan's best seller in America. The volume king. The crossover that prints the money. And here's the pattern you'll see at every company that builds something exciting. You've seen this in your own life. The boring thing in the driveway pays for the fun thing in the garage. The boring crossover pays for all of it. Porsche has the Cayenne. Aston Martin has the DBX. Lamborghini has the Urus. The thing enthusiasts roll their eyes at is the thing that signs the checks. At Nissan, it's the Rogue. The school run funds the racetrack. It always does. Level 4. The Z. $43,000, 400 horsepower, and the first car on this list that exists for emotional reasons instead of rational ones. Nissan makes almost nothing on the Z. On a spreadsheet, it shouldn't exist at all. But this is where the money from the bottom 3 levels starts flowing back up. The Z is the showroom magnet, the poster on the wall that makes a Rogue feel like a choice instead of a default. You walk in for the sensible crossover, you pass the Z on the way to the desk, and something in you registers it. That's the job. The Z doesn't sell Zs. The Z sells the badge. And the badge is what you remember when you walk out, even if you walked out with the crossover. Especially if you walked out with the crossover. Level 5. The GT-R. $120,000 today. But here's the number that tells the real story. It broke cover in 2007. When it reached showrooms, it cost under $70,000. They called it Godzilla because when it arrived, it humiliated cars costing 3 times as much around a track. The engines were hand-assembled by a tiny team of master technicians, each one signing the engine they built. For 18 years, Nissan barely changed the car, and it stayed competitive anyway. They built nearly 48,000 of them before the line finally stopped in 2025. The GT-R was never about margin. It was a flag planted on a mountain that belonged to Ferrari and Porsche. A mass-market brand saying, we can build that too. And for almost 2 decades, they were right. But here's where the story turns, and it's the part that reframes everything underneath it. Building a halo car is an arms race. Every giant wants a crown, one impossible object that proves the badge can reach the top. The Volkswagen Group has Bugatti. And when these companies want something truly bespoke, hand-formed, coach-built the old ways, most of them go to the same place, a workshop in Turin called Ital Design. Ital Design drew the original Golf, the DeLorean, the BMW M1. And if you've been picturing Idle Design as the neutral coach builder any brand can just hire, you're a decade out of date. By 2010, it wasn't independent anymore. It had been bought by the Volkswagen Group through Audi, the same conglomerate that owns Bugatti. So, sit with this. When Nissan decided to build the ultimate version of its Halo car, it couldn't do it alone. It shipped the cars to Turin, to a coach builder owned by one of its biggest rivals, and had them built there by hand. Nissan reached for the top of the mountain and had to rent the equipment from the company that already owned the mountain. And underneath all of it, the base was cracking. In its 2024 financial year, Nissan sold over 3 million cars and still lost the equivalent of more than $4 billion. 3 million cars. $4 billion in the red. They built more than the population of Chicago and still couldn't turn a profit. The pyramid only works if the bottom is solid. Nissan's bottom was bleeding, which is exactly why the car at the very top, the one this whole ladder is climbing toward, exists in the numbers it does. If you want more of these breakdowns, follow the channel. This is the work. Keep that in mind because the last two rungs don't look like cars anymore. They look like what happens when a mass market company tries to buy its way into a club it can't quite afford to join. Level 6, the GT-R Nismo, $220,000. That's $100,000 more than the standard GT-R for 35 extra horsepower and a lot of carbon fiber. Read that again. $100,000 for parts you mostly can't feel from the driver's seat. That's $2,800 for each one of those extra 35 horses. The standard GT-R runs you $214 a horsepower. Sit with that ratio. This is the rung where the GT-R stops being the giant killer that made it famous and becomes something else. A flex. You're not buying performance per dollar anymore. That was level 5. At level 6, you're buying the most of the thing, the badge at maximum volume. And the people who buy it know exactly what they're doing. It was never about the lap time. It was about owning the top of what the showroom could sell. Almost the top. Level 7. The GT-R50 by a tall design. $1.1 million. And here's what the badge won't say out loud. This isn't really a Nissan, not the way the Versa is. Nissan took its top GT-R, shipped it to Turin, and had a tall design rebuild it by hand. New body panels formed by people instead of machines. The engine pushed to 710 horsepower. They planned to build 50. Then the supply chain collapsed in the pandemic, and the run quietly ended. 18 cars. Not 50, 18. The world fell apart mid-production, and Nissan never restarted the line. Every one of them sold before the first was finished. So here is the apex of the entire Nissan pyramid. A car almost no Nissan owner will ever see. That Nissan didn't fully build itself. Sitting on top of a company that moves 3 million cars a year and loses money doing it. That's the crown. 18 cars, built in someone else's workshop. And that's what this whole ladder is really about. Nissan isn't one company. It's two. There's the company at the bottom that sells you transportation, millions of cars, razor-thin margins, the stuff that keeps the doors open. And there's the company at the top that builds dreams it can't quite afford, on credit borrowed from the bottom. The cheapest car they make is the foundation the most expensive one stands on. So here's the honest verdict. If you're actually shopping Nissan, the smart money stops at level 5. The standard GT-R is the whole story. The giant killer at a fraction of supercar money, and a genuine piece of history now that the line is dead. Everything above it is buying scarcity, not speed. Buy the legend, skip the markup. The 2007 GT-R will still be the giant killer in 2035. The cars above it will still be locked behind allocation, scarcity, or supply chain collapse. Buy the one that mattered. Be right anyway. And tell me in the comments, is the GT-R50 the real grail? Or is the under 70 grand 2007 GT-R the one that actually mattered? It's the 2007. Every time. Fight me! Because every one of us has done a version of this. We spend on the thing that says who we want to be, quietly funded by the boring thing that pays the bills. Nissan just does it at the scale of an entire company. 10 years from now, that $17,000 Versa will still be doing airport rental duty, 3 owners deep, badge gone dull. And one of those 18 GT-R 50S will be in a sealed, climate-controlled room somewhere, never driven, waiting to sell for more than it cost. Same badge on both, one of them paid for the other. Subscribe if you want to see how money actually moves at the top and who's quietly paying for it at the bottom.